How the heck did we get here? There was a point where Trevor Bauer was the greatest pitcher in all of baseball and seemed to be on top of the world. In 2020, the man won the Cy Young with the Cincinnati Reds after posting a 1.73 ERA, posting the best ERA in the National League. Off the heels of that incredible, albeit shortened season, he signed a 3-year contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers worth 9 figures. And at least early on in the season, the Dodgers had to be pleased with the man they signed, as his 2.59 ERA and his 137 strikeouts made him one of the best pitchers in the game, just like he was in Cincinnati during his Cy Young season, and just like he was in Cleveland when he was an All-Star back in 2018. Trevor Bauer seemed to be untouchable. On June 28, 2021, Bauer pitched 6 innings against the San Francisco Giants while striking out 8 batters and getting his 8th win of the season and the 83rd win of his career on the mound. That would be the last time he stepped foot on a Major League Baseball mound. After that, Bauer was placed on administrative leave by MLB for a slew of reasons, including multiple allegations of domestic violence toward women. Bauer will later receive a 2-year suspension for this. To say that this was controversial and messy would be putting it lightly when it comes to the extent of what Bauer did or did not do. And it's not something that I'm going to be getting into, not just because it's been well documented, but also because Bauer has sued publications and reporters in the past for reporting on the matter. And that's not really something I want to be involved with. The bottom line is that after these allegations, Bauer has never played again in the major leagues. However, that hasn't stopped him from trying to make a comeback onto baseball's biggest stage. Because after playing the 2023 season in Japan with the Yokohama Bay Stars, the 2024 season in Mexico with the Diablos, and the 2025 season again in Japan with Yokohama, Trevor Bauer is back in the United States for the first time since 2021. And he's back in the Big Apple. Well, a couple miles outside the Big Apple in Central Iceland, as a member of the Long Island Ducks, an independent baseball team in the Atlantic League. And this is a weird moment for me, because for those who don't know, I grew up a fan of the Long Island Ducks. I was born and raised on Long Island, and I would go to their games every summer. I spent my birthday there one year. I have multiple Long Island Ducks pennants in my bedroom. I went to the Atlantic League All-Star Game in 2010. I saw legends like Ray Navarrete and Lou Ford play there. And I did announcing and stats for my high school baseball team. And in 2015, I was in the press box and got to call a game at this very ballpark. Heck, one of the players on that team, oddly enough, is currently playing for the Long Island Ducks. And since I was back in New York for the NFL draft for a couple of days, visiting my family before heading out to Pittsburgh, when I heard that Trevor Bauer was going to be on the bump, I knew what I had to do. But before I even get into how everything went, even if we take Bauer's word at face value, and even if we believe wholeheartedly that Bauer is blackballed from baseball and did not do anything to any of those women, and all of those women just wanted his money and lied about it being consensual, why is he not playing in the majors? How is a Cy Young winner's first game back in the United States at a 6,000-seat ballpark where I used to go all the time? Well, there are 2 reasons. Point number 1, no one really likes him. Even if Bauer didn't commit any crimes, there's no crime against just being a general nuisance and a bad teammate. The stories about Bauer in the locker room while in the majors are plentiful. A report from the Los Angeles Times said that no one really liked him in the locker room and that no one wanted him back. When he was in Cincinnati, Bauer himself said that he did not get along well at all with Joey Votto, a potential future Hall of Fame player, one of the greatest players in Reds history, and a guy that doesn't really have beef with anyone. You can get away with a lot of stuff if you're a good person. And it's the whole smelly shoes analogy, where if someone says that your shoes smell, it's probably them. But if everyone says that your shoes smell, then your shoes smell. Even if Bauer truly did nothing to those women, at minimum, he has issues in the locker room with his teammates. And if you're not a good teammate, especially in a team sport where chemistry plays a huge part, you need to be really freaking good to be able to compensate for that. Which leads me to point number 2. Trevor Bauer kind of sucks. Prior to the start of the 2025 season in Japan, Bauer infamously put out a tweet that said that only 20 hitters were any sort of competition for him. By pure coincidence, those 20 hitters all happened to play in Japan in the Central League. Last year, when Bauer was pitching for the Yokohama Bay Stars, his ERA was 4.51, meaning he allowed roughly 1 run every 2 innings of work. This ranked 57th in the league. Ranking 57th in the league in ERA might not sound that bad until you realize that, oh yeah, this was out of 57 pitchers. Japan is sort of in a dead ball era right now where offense is hard to come by. And there are a lot of reasons for that, which I'm not going to dive into here because that's not the crux of the video. But the league ERA in 2025 was just a hair under 3. Of the 57 qualified pitchers in the Central League, 50 of them had an ERA below 4, and only 1 of them had an ERA above 4.5, with that person being Trevor Bauer. Bauer allowed 15 home runs, which was the most of any pitcher, and had a ton of trouble keeping the ball in the yard. And to give you even more of an idea of just how bad Bauer was in Japan, only 1 other pitcher in the 2020s threw over 130 innings in the Central League and had an ERA above 4.3, and that was Daichi Oshira in 2022. Basically, no one had ever been that bad for that long. Yet Bauer had done the impossible, which was making the dead ball era in Japan seem like a hoax. Still, I wanted to see just what the heck was going to happen for this historic moment. And with that, I headed over to Fairfield Properties Ballpark and was on my way to see the Long Island Ducks for the first time in probably at least 13 years. Would I see a man who was unfairly maligned by Major League Baseball and a man who was playing at a level way too good for his abilities? Would I find a pitcher who was a man amongst boys and looked like he was prime LeBron James playing against Division II college kids? Well, not so much. Because, oh man, if Trevor Bauer was trying to make a good first impression in his first game stateside in half a decade, he most definitely did not do that. And yes, it's only 1 game, and judging a player based on a 1-game sample size is kinda stupid. Baseball is a long season with a lot of innings and a lot of pitches. To judge how good or bad a player is off of 1 game is foolish. Heck, just a couple of days ago, I was at an Arizona Diamondbacks game where Ryan Nelson allowed 8 runs in the first inning and got just 1 batter out. He's not a bad pitcher. Sometimes crap happens. So much as he had just 1 absolutely atrocious outing. But when you combine Bauer's performance during opening day with the Ducks with what he was doing in Japan, it does not paint a pretty picture for him in more ways than one. First, let's address the elephant in the room, the fans. I'll let you take a listen for yourself as to the fan reaction on Trevor Bauer. Unsurprisingly, it was all cheers. While that didn't surprise me, as I grew up on Long Island and knew what to expect there, what did surprise me was just how dead the stadium was when Bauer was not on the bump. It was a sold-out crowd of over 6,000 fans strong. Yet when the Ducks were at bat, it felt like attending a game in a stadium that had just 2,000 fans in attendance. Even when the Ducks did something good on offense, the crowd was dead. When starting lineups were being introduced, you couldn't tell that based on the applause. If you've ever seen the episode of SpongeBob SquarePants with the talent show at the Krusty Krab, it was like that. That's why it wasn't entirely a surprise that when Bauer got pulled, and more on that in a bit, that half the stadium emptied out. I'd wager about 60% of the fans in attendance were there specifically to see Bauer and had no interest in anything else. It was loud when Bauer was on the bump and had a 2-strike count, and it was dead silent during everything else. No judgment there, seeing as I went for that purpose too, so that I could make this video. And I left in the middle of the 5th inning, partly because it was freezing. So take that for what it's worth. As for Bauer on the bump, yeah, there's a lot that makes me think he's not getting called up to the majors anytime soon. The raw numbers were not super impressive, as in 4 innings of work, he allowed 2 runs, 3 walks, and 5 hits, while striking out 8. I would start off with the positive stuff, but there's not a lot of positives from this outing, objectively speaking. His fastball back in 2021 with the Dodgers was averaging 94 miles per hour, which was near the middle of the pack. However, this was 5 years ago, and pitchers have only been throwing harder and faster since. The average fastball today is 94 miles per hour, which wouldn't be a problem if Bauer could still average that. Alas, he could not. Granted, it was his first start of the year, and it was a cold night, but only once on his 91 pitches did Bauer top 94 miles per hour. His average, by my calculations, was somewhere around 92.5, which for some perspective would put him in the 20th percentile of pitchers today in the major leagues. The fastball was somewhat effective for this level for what it was, and he was able to strike guys out with his fastball throughout the game. He had very good command of his fastball, I must say, but it's a lot different when you're throwing 92 in what feels like high A ball, believe me, the quality is not that good, versus throwing 92 in the big leagues. And maybe that wouldn't be a problem if his off-speed stuff was good. However, for every 1 good off-speed pitch that he threw that fooled batters, he had about 3 that were nowhere near the zone. Bauer got a lot of guys to chase the last time he played in the majors in 2021. His chase percentage was in the 65th percentile, his whiff percentage was in the 79th percentile, and his strikeout percentage was in the 92nd percentile. However, I didn't see anyone biting on pitches outside the zone against Bauer, because he could not find the zone on off-speed stuff. In the 20 batters that Bauer faced, on 8 occasions, Bauer got ahead in the count 0-2. 7 times after that, he threw a ball that was complete and utter junk. The man was getting ahead in the count, I'll give him that much. On his 20 plate appearances, excluding the first pitch hit he allowed in the 2nd inning, he got ahead in the count 15 times, so 79% of the time. When you're getting ahead in the count 0-2 on 40% of your plate appearances, that's pretty good. But then, when you're proceeding to throw 91 pitches in 20 batters faced, that is not good at all. For some perspective, the average plate appearance in the major leagues is 4 pitches, and Bauer was averaging 4.5 pitches per plate appearance, with a lot of his balls just being wasteful for the sake of being wasteful. He was getting no one to chase. And while Bauer wasn't bad the first time through the order, allowing 1 hit and 1 walk, things fell apart the moment that batters got to face him a 2nd and 3rd time through. This is something that Bauer was good at when he was last pitching in the majors 5 years ago with the Dodgers. Yes, all of the numbers rose, but they were still really good. His batting average rose from 151 the first time through to 184. His on-base percentage rose from 229 to 270, and his OPS rose from 495 to 645. So there was a jump, but nothing out of the ordinary. Here, Bauer faced 11 repeat batters, and of those 11, 6 of them got on base, and it easily could have been 8 had it not been for these 2 great defensive plays that you're watching right now, with a diving grab by the shortstop and a diving grab by the second baseman, saving some more base runners. He wasn't allowing hard contact the first time through, as the only hit was a broken bat single. The second and third time through, not so much. In total, Bauer threw 91 pitches, throwing 57 strikes and 34 balls. If we exclude the pitch clock violations, with 1 being on the batter and 1 being on Bauer, it's 89 pitches with 56 strikes and 33 balls. In 3 of the 4 innings, Bauer threw at least 23 pitches. And Bauer really struggled to get quick outs, as only 4 times did he get an out within the first 3 pitches. When you're averaging what would come out to 205 pitches across a 9-inning outing, that is really inefficient to say the least. During Bauer's final season in the majors, as a member of the Dodgers in 2021, Bauer was throwing about 16.5 pitches per inning. This was a huge jump, and over Bauer's 17 games with the Dodgers in 2021, not once did he have an outing where he threw the average of pitches that he did on Tuesday night with the Ducks. So when Bauer said that there's only a couple of batters in the world that can challenge him, it's incredible how they were pretty evenly distributed across Japan and Central Iceland. As for his attitude, this is the real turnoff more than anything. We know that Bauer has a tendency to wear his emotions on his sleeve. We saw what happened when he infamously threw the ball over the center field wall back in 2019 as a member of the Cincinnati Reds during a game against the Kansas City Royals. If Bauer could convey that he's a changed man and isn't a head case like he was in prior stints in the majors, then maybe, just maybe, there's enough left in the tank to convince major league teams to bite the bullet and give him another chance. But there were multiple occasions during the game where Bauer, unhappy with the call by the third base umpire, was yelling at him and giving him gestures. On another night, Bauer easily could have been ejected for these actions. He probably should have been. Nothing has changed in 5 years, nothing at all. Bauer is still the same immature person who has a hot temper when things don't go his way that he always was. If this was his test to show that he was a good pitcher and a changed man, then he failed on both fronts. Bauer struggled with not just control on his off-speed pitches, but with control on his temper. I don't know what happens here for Trevor Bauer and the Long Island Ducks. I don't know what I expected to see when I walked into the ballpark for the first time in roughly a decade and a half. But if this was Trevor Bauer's chance to prove himself to the critics and to Major League Baseball, he did not take advantage of that at all. The pitch count was high. The fastball speed was a noticeable dip. The off-speed pitches were largely junk. The counts were being worked way too much. The attitude was off-putting. In other words, this performance for the Long Island Ducks was a Long Island dud. Check out our live streaming schedule for the next few days. We're live every single day on this channel, whether we're covering a sporting event or playing GeoGuessr or just taking your requests. So make sure you like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single time that we go live and so that you can join this community. Also, thanks to all our members and our Patreon supporters who get exclusive perks like their name at the end of each video, members-only Q&A streams, and cool emojis to use on videos and during streams. See how you can join this community and become a member or a Patreon member by clicking the link in the description below.